restricted. And also having the land dedication gives the city more control on how we want to develop that piece of land. And I'm gonna go to the previous slide so that you can see where the land will be located. So this is a preliminary site plan for parcel B, and the lots that are highlighted in red, that's the land dedication that the developer is proposing to donate to the city. That will also include an easement so that we can have access to the main road. Compliance and financial consideration. So this in-loop plan is allowed through section, as I mentioned, through section 1738.230 and section 17.41.080, directs a staff to deposit any funds collected through an in-loop plan to the Affordable Housing Fund, but the council has the authority to be more specific, and you can actually direct us to allocate this funding to a particular project or program. Financial consideration, the in-loop plan doesn't have a direct impact to the general fund. However, this will be a way also of generating some funding for our affordable housing goals. And the city will retain land for future affordable housing projects that we can have a little bit more discretion on how we want that land to be developed. So we're getting towards the end, and the discussion for council is giving you, if you can give us some options. So the first one, if you like the proposed plan, approve the plan and direct staff to prepare the documents necessary for this to execute the in-loop plan and the amendment to the affordable housing plan. You can also direct us to modify the plan and just let us know what are the modifications that you will need in order to consider this plan, or reject the proposal and provide alternative direction. And with that, I'm happy to take any comments or questions. And as I mentioned before, Mr. Aga is also in the room in case you have questions for him.
Beatriz, for that presentation. And I know it's complexity, but thank you for being succinct on that. Let me take it out to the public first before I bring it to the council. So any members of the public that are joining us here like to comment on this item B-3? Okay, seeing none, I'll take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. Any members of the public that is joining us via Zoom would like to comment on item B-3? Okay, seeing no hands raised, then I will close the public comment portion. I'll bring it back to council, and I'll start on my right with Councilwoman Banuelos.
No, I was actually where me and Councilmember Caballero were on the subcommittee. So no questions.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, I do have one question. First, I was a little confused in the place. I think is after the current agreement. In the box, is in the report.
Okay.
In the proposed, I think is if you look at the agenda item is in page 3, in the third page. If you have the packet, is in 125.
Okay.
There's a section that says under proposed plan, and there's 3 items right there. The first item says the number of required moderate income units will be reduced from 24 to 1. That's when it specifies. And then I kept reading, and you just mentioned in another part. Oh, let me see.
Maybe that table that you have.
Yeah, maybe is part of the table,
Yeah,
but
And
I see he's under.
yes. Now let me see. I think I'm
you're on the wrong.
because no, I know, but let me see what I was looking. Because in one section mentions that we're getting a lot, right? And
Yes.
it says that it's for 12 units. But later on it says that we can afford to build more than 12 units. Are we talking about houses, apartments, or what are we talking about that we can fit more than 12 in that area? Because there's 2 lots.
yes, okay, I'll go to this slide. I think this will be helpful, which is the land that the developer is proposing to donate to the city.
Mhm.
So the remaining 12 units, they can fit in this portion of land. But if the city decides to apply a density bonus to a future project that can be developed in this piece of land, we can do that and we can maximize the use of the land. But that will be a discussion for a later project, whichever we decide to do with the land. That will also be, it will be a later conversation, but because now the land is donated to the city, we will have discretion of what we do with that land.
And, through the chair, if I might just clarify too, this parcel B has kind of been laid out already, because they're in the middle of the entitlement process.
Mhm.
So they contemplated having these 8 plexes, 3 8-plex areas. So we could potentially fit with the land that we would have
16.
would be 16, which is generally, we could probably squeeze in that many, and it's contemplated as multi-family.
With the family,
moderate.
okay. Mhm. Yeah, okay,
Yeah, thank you.
thanks. Yeah, that was my question.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez,
Yeah, this is questions or both?
questions and comments, yeah.
Okay. Questions. We've made amendments in the past to this project, correct?
Yes.
Any have we done at this point?
To the affordable housing plan, just one in 2023.
And then in loop plan, I know we're going off the $300,000, 12 times 25. But I'm curious as why we're not considering actually we're losing 23 moderate units. Because I thought like the low, very low was a different topic, and we are losing 23 units that would really help a lot of our missing middle, I like to call, that aren't able to afford a market rate home, and they're also unable to qualify for low or very low. And going from 24 to 1 is a little wild. Like I understand the point of not having an affordability period, but this is just 1 unit with an affordability period. So I would like to actually propose that we, in good faith, get the amount to increase from 300,000 to 575,000, which would be the 23 times 25,000 formula.
Okay, and Mr. Late is here if later you want to engage in a conversation with him.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then also, whatever the agreed amount comes to, if we do agree to this in lieu plan, I would really like that amount to be put into our existing pool of first-time homebuyer assistance program funds. I think that's something that we should definitely consider. We're already building it, and I think that it's worthwhile to continue building, especially to assist our missing middle, right? Also, I think we need to, as a city, figure out also how to assist this missing middle to be able to afford a house. I think I've kind of been saying that since April of last year when I was sworn in, and I will keep talking about it. And then I'll also beat the dead horse of me mentioning that we need to diversify our housing stock and really look into these pre-built smaller homes that we see in the Inland Empire and jurisdictions like that. And then to keep my drawn out comments, I have another one. For the plot of land that is being proposed, I hear the 8-plex, and I would really like to also rethink how we think about what this looks like, because I like the Las Viviendas, but I think it would be nice to make it a little bit more conform and compact, and it would be cool to be able to see like what we can see in the Bay Area where they have these like 8-plexes, 6-plexes, and they're like 3 stories each, and they're all side by side, so it's very uniform. 1-bedroom garage, bottom floor, middle floor, they have like kitchen, living room area, and then the top floor they have 1 or 2 bedrooms depending on the flooring plan. So I'm just giving ideas or examples of what we can maybe do with that land, just to like make sure we can comfortably fit as many people as we can, and then that way everybody kind of has their own section. Because like if you're upstairs, right, the downstairs person has like a yard, the upstairs doesn't really have anything, and then here everybody could at least have like a balcony or something, you know, just thinking about like ways to like make it nice and more like, what's the word? Like now, what's the word? Modern, yeah. So I think those are my comments, but I will really back into, I think that because we're losing 23, I would really like to see a better offer. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Councilmember Marcelo Sanchez, Councilmember Caldera.
You know what, I had, actually I had a question. When it says, I thought I read someplace where it says, retain the, property. So was that ours before, or was it,
This
the-
property?
yeah,
That's
no,
the-
retain, I mean, I take that, you know, retain is like, goes back to us.
No,
So it's, okay.
it will be, it will
So
be
let's-
donated to the city, and we can have control over that site. That's what I meant. Mhm.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I'm in agreement with maybe considering a different option, but I mean, however we vote, it's good too.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's my turn. And I'm just gonna start by prefacing, I know many of you have heard me about, the importance of housing in our community and being able to ensure that we're meeting the needs of our residents. And I appreciate the housing that's being built. And I know, as Councilmember Ansaldo mentioned, it's a lot of it is single family housing. We do need to diversify our housing stock and really be able to meet the different income levels. I think the council did a really amazing job along with staff to be able to prepare a housing element that really talked about all these different income levels that we need to meet. And I want to thank staff, because I think for the low and very low, that was, a concern, especially in our RENA numbers, that we had not met those. And they're just minimum numbers. So I'll say they're just minimum thresholds, but those had not been met for years. And so we were not compliant with that. And we were not providing the housing that our residents needed in terms of some of the income levels. So I want to make sure that, I continue to advocate for the residents and to make sure that Soledad residents do have a benefit if the council is going to decide to modify. I just, in terms of the in lieu fee amount, I just want to say it's not sufficient for the city to develop the units, right? So we are, again, giving up the 24 units of moderate income housing. And as Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez stated, the missing middle is something that we know now is really critical. Obviously, we just had the Soledad Unified School District that's building their moderate workforce housing for their residents. And we've had issues with retention in our employees because we need those moderate income units as well. And I think for me, some of the questions and comments that came up for me in reviewing the report was, how many years will it take the city to find a developer to have sufficient funding to build the proposed 12 units, right? That's another consideration with the in lieu fees. That's not going to produce the housing at the immediacy. And then the state has not. So I just want to make sure that we also, as a council, understand that the state has not provided sustainable funding source for housing. And per the governor's May revise, if anyone was in tune to it, most of the housing dollars are going to be spent on the reorganization of the department and not necessarily on any new funding sources at the state level. So I think we need to be cautious about that as we move forward on any of the approvals. And then also on the federal side, obviously, it's really uncertain times, and most likely for the next 3 years it will be. And housing is not part of what they're funding. So I just, want to make those comments because I think it's important for us as a council to be able to take those items into consideration. So with that, I do have a couple of recommendations that I'd like to present and questions. I think most of those have been answered through Megan and also through the developer with Lay that I did have the opportunity to meet to be able to understand what the concept was. So again, in order to ensure that Soledad residents have an opportunity to purchase the market rate homes, as we're taking off the 25 moderate homeownership units, and even with the proposed land donation, you know, it'll be for rental, not necessarily homeownership. So I think it's important for us to ensure that Soledad residents are not priced out or gentrified as a result of any proposed modification that we make to this agreement. So I would like to direct staff and for consideration from the council to work with the developer to include language in any appropriate agreements to coordinate with the city to pre-market or kind of like the get first notification of the total of what was supposed to be the 23 moderate units for Soledad residents who are first-time home buyers. So in line with what Councilmember Saldo Sanchez said. As the city has policies for our first-time home buyers program already, and we've already requested down payment assistance to the state. So I believe we have other set-aside funds that I think the city can support having 23 Soledad residents ready to purchase some of these homeownership units. This has been done in other cities in the Bay Area, so I want to make sure that we explore that as an opportunity to ensure that the 32 units, the 23 units, sorry, for homeownership, we still can support our residents to be able to purchase those. And then on my second recommendation would be in order to mitigate the loss of the 23 moderate homeownership units, and you don't have to write it down, I have it written down so I can give it to you. The 23 moderate homeownership units, in order to, and I want to make sure that we separate the First Amendment, because I know you made mention that we're, the developer wanted to include the 11 as part of this process. But to separate the First Amendment to the Affordable Housing Agreement that provides 11 additional affordable rentals due to the density bonus for Eden Housing. So we want to make sure that we make whole the 23 units and not the 12 units included in the proposal. So I know it's saying 12 units, but to go back to utilization of the 23. So how are we going to mitigate that? So in order to mitigate that and be able to provide, as Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez said, the missing middle to our Soledad residents, I recommend we renegotiate the in lieu fees of $300,000. And even with the 0.33 acres, which is less than an acre of the land donated, that's not sufficient for us to be able to produce or construct the homes that we need for rental moderate units, as was mentioned. So with that, I would recommend that the staff work with developer to increase the in lieu amount to also 575. I want to say 600,000, but we'll negotiate 575 or higher using the 23 units as a denominator, not the 12 units.
Okay.
And given also that we live in I also want to take into consideration that we live in a high cost county. So I know that may be a little bit steep, but I think, you know, that warrants it because we do live in a high cost county. And at the 575, this would come out to 25,000 per unit per unit that we can use for down payment assistance for 23 Soledad residents as part of the first time home buyer program. So they are able to also purchase what would have been the moderate ownership units. So I know we don't have a formula, unfortunately, in the in lieu fees. So I would urge staff that we look into this at a later time because there is different methods of assessing the in lieu fees. So we don't have it. So what we have right now is, you know, that's my recommendation. And also to have staff work with the developer to engage if there's other potential developers that may be interested and included. I know Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez had gone to a presentation where there was other developers from Southern California. And I know it's a little bit different as well. That have built single family homes to see if there's any interest and that we can get a developer that would be able to provide the housing at an affordable construction rate.
Okay,
And
thank
I
you.
have it, sorry, I have it in writing, so I'll give it to you because I know it was a lot.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I have, I'm a little confused about this. So that, are we losing that 23 units or just transforming into something else? So what is the total of units that we're building? Let's say that we building 100 just for the sake of numbers. So when you're saying we're losing 23, does that mean that we only building 78?
No, we're building the full amount for the
full amount.
project. It's just that 23 were supposed to be for moderate income at initial purchased. The units will still be built, but it wouldn't have that restriction of being sold to moderate income at initial purchase.
And then the 300,000 is calculated based on the lots that the developer is giving us,
Mhm.
calculating that there's 12 units to be built right there and multiply by that 25,000, which gives 300,000.
Yes, that's what the developer is proposing. Yeah.
Point of
That's the
information,
proposal, yeah.
it's not that it's the 12 that is building on the land,
Yeah.
it's the 12 that aren't being built at all. That's where the 25,000 comes from, not that those are the
Yeah,
12
so
that would
it's all
be
done. It's
on
one of
the parcel B. It's 12 that aren't being built on parcel E, right?
Yes, so the units will be built. The entire project as it was approved through the PUD, all of the units will be built. What will be different is that the units will not be affordable, like they will be market rate. The units will be there, but we are short. Overall, if we look at the overall affordable units, we're short 12 units on the overall count. But if we break it down through income category, the developer is overbuilding on the low and very low, and he's short in the moderate income. So if we look at moderate income as a deficient income category, we are short 23 units that have a moderate income designation. The units will be built, but they will be market rate. Mhm.
That's what I understand, because
Yes.
if then we're calculating those 12 units from the lot that is given to us. Not that we lost it, not that we're not building, is that they're giving us the lot that it appears to be for 12 units.
Yeah, so to be clear, and thank you, but I think I also want to make sure that we don't lose the fact that, especially on the chart, there was 24 moderate units, that we are losing 23. So
Yeah.
the developer is proposing 1, and the other 12 that are going to be built. I just want to be careful that we understand that it's being built, it's being proposed for us to be able to build 12 rental units, no longer. It could be rental moderate, but it's no longer single family homes. And I know that we've had discussions about the importance of ensuring that we're also developing single family homes to purchase to our missing middle, which is that moderate income that we have not looked at. And so even if we have the land, we don't have the funding. What I'm saying is that 300,000 is not sufficient to be able to build, and we don't know when we're gonna have, the city will have money to be able to find money to build those 12 units. And what I had mentioned in my comments is the state money and the federal money that we had access to in the past, given the situation on both budget issues, we're not gonna see that kind of money. So I just want to stress to the council that to be able to look at how do we make whole, and if we can up the 300,000 and be able to put that into our housing trust fund to ensure that that we could use that for down payment assistance for the units that are going to be the market rate units for our first time home buyer program.
Through the chair, may I make another point as well as why this is important? I think also I want to hone in the fact that why we're talking about the importance of losing these 23 moderate income units that would be single family homes. Think about it like somebody who may be a single parent with children, right? They want to move into a home, but maybe they can't afford it. They don't qualify for low, very low, but they can't afford a market rate home. And this is kind of saying oh, well, we understand that you want a home, a yard, you might have a dog or something, or you might want your kids to play outside in your own space, as opposed to like what would be built, right? Which would be in an apartment complex where you might not have those freedoms. And we just want to make sure that we're considering everyone and what their hopes and what their aspirations are and what they would like to see, right? As opposed to, okay, well, we're building the housing, it's fine. I'm not saying that that's what you said, but I'm trying to make like another kind of painting a picture a little bit, at least of how I see it, is that we really do need, again, to diversify our housing stock, our options, so that we're meeting the needs of all of our residents and meeting the needs of what they want, because they may not be here, but I think a lot of folks would hear this and be like, well, I would have liked to see the 23 moderate units because I might have been able to afford that, maybe move out of like a multi-generational house, stuff like that. So I think if we kind of put that picture in our minds, I think that's kind of, I guess, where I was coming from. Maybe Mayor as well, I'm not sure, but yeah.
So point of information, just to clarify.
Hold on, let me have Megan, because she's been waiting, and then we can go to you, Mayor. Pro
And
Tem.
I was actually trying to clarify, I think the question, it sounds to me like council's pretty much on the same page about wanting in lieu fee and land. But the
Mhm.
question is really about, is the in lieu fee going to be for 12 units or for 23 units? And the in lieu fee for 12 units as proposed by the developer is 300,000. And I hear from 2 council members that they're looking for the in lieu fee to be for 23, which would be up to 575. And so that's kind of where I'm hearing the differences between council members, and hopefully I summarized it. I think a lot of the direction that you provided is really direction to staff that we would take. We can definitely, we hear what you're saying in terms of the type of housing we need to provide and the variation and looking at, and that's part of our housing element is to do that. We're looking to increase to allow 3 stories, because right now, one of the reasons why we only have 2 stories is because we have a cap on our zoning, but that's part of it. So a lot of those things we can do, we can work. I think Mary, you suggested that we work with the housing developer once selected to pre-market those units. And we can also take the direction from you, of how we use any in lieu fee. And if you want us to go towards down payment assistance, as Beatrice said, the council can direct us. So it kind of sounds like on those areas you're okay with. It's just more about, are we mitigating 23 units or 12? You know,
M- my confusion, if you can call it like that, and I believe that people out there will have the same confusion, is in the language. If we use language like we're losing 23, well, in reality, we're not losing it. They're going to be built, but maybe we can change that to say we are changing from moderate to market value, so that but we actually losing this. We're not going to be able to build this. And I would like to hear from the developer, see what are the problems that they have in finding the builders. What are the things that we're going to face, and what could be the consequences if it is going to be an extended period of time wait, or what are the best options? What are the options that they have right now, so that at least we can understand why is all this movement and amendments.
Yeah, so thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for that. And I'll just point of clarification. I use the term losing because I think it is important to be able to say that we are losing the moderate single family homes, because those are going to turn into market rate. So what was considered moderate for single family homeownership is no longer on the proposal, only 1 unit. So I do want to make that clear, and I'm not going to revise my language, because I think we have to acknowledge the fact that we are losing those 23 single home ownership units. They're going to convert to rental if we decide but the rental is not, it's not gonna be built with this. It's gonna be built at some later time when the city has sufficient funding, so it's not a guarantee. So in a sense, I want to make sure that we are understanding that those units are now from 24 to 1 unit under the moderate single family housing.
Yes,
I
just-
wanted
and
to be clear
through-
that we're, that is happening.
Yeah,
Just a clarification, the language is, I heard it from the presenter.
yeah, through the chair.
And she said losing.
Yes,
losing.
and
I'm not referring to you.
Oh, yeah, but
if I can clarify, that, because this item, what we will, moving forward, will trigger an amendment to the affordable housing plan. So in the affordable housing plan, we're accounting for these units. So if we decide to revise it, which will be council direction, within that affordable housing plan, in the affordable housing plan, which is the action that will take place later, we will lose those units, not in the market, but on our affordable housing plan, which will be the action that will be required later.
So I know there was a couple of questions for the developer, and I know we have the developer here, and they thank you for being here. So I don't know if there's this, we'll have him, I don't know if Beatrice or you, they want to make sure that you comment on some of the questions that the
Yeah.
council had in terms of what are the challenges with developers.
And just don't get too close to the microphone because it's sometimes reflecting backwards. So
Okay.
just
Okay, so first off, I just want to clarify that yes, the 23 of those moderate houses, the distinction is being removed, right? And so that's where the whole idea of donating the apartment land was to help make up for that, right? So I just want to make sure that if we are going to give that land, that there's some credit for that, right? Otherwise, we're just completely giving it away for free. If you like the idea of 25,000 per unit, then that's sort of the standard. Well, where's the credit for the apartment site? So, but I want to go to your idea of the sort of the, I don't know, it'd be kind of like the 3-story, 1-car garage width. That's very doable in that space. You get probably 10 to 12 of those, and those could be for sale. So, and as of now, it's being presented as for rental, but that could actually work as a for sale product, and it'll be probably in the 400s. It's going to be a much lower price point. So that's definitely a possibility. So that we could actually change the plans that we're presenting to make those a 3-story townhome essentially. So it becomes a for sale product, and that gets much easier to build. Someone's going to want to come in and build those and sell them. That's much easier than trying to seek funding for an apartment complex. So that's just something to consider there. So you have a question about why, what are our struggles with selling? Basically, the home builders, they see 24 moderate rate lots amongst 104 houses. And I had the same story over and over, is that it's just too many for them to contend with. Because they have to go through the process of qualifying buyers. And so you have to do that 24 times. For them, it's sort of a, it's a cost benefit analysis. Like, how much time are they willing to put into selling those 24 houses? So that just becomes too burdensome for them, according to their formula, right? So one of the proposals that I had put out to several builders was, okay, how about you buy the 80 market rates, and we'll build the 24 moderates. There's still going to be a little bit of profit in there. We'll get it done. Without fail, each one said it's too complicated because we'll have our construction crew, and you're going to have your construction crew there at the same time, and they don't want construction crews kind of like on top of each other. And they have to be built concurrently. That's the the rule there. So I'd even propose, okay, you start on the west end, we'll start on the east end. When you guys are done over here, we'll hop over there. You guys can hop over there, and they just weren't buying it. So that's what we ran into. And so, we just couldn't get anyone to, and we're not in a position to go out and build 104 houses. We're developers. Like we entitle the land, and, when we do some of the planning, get the, construction drawings going, but we don't have a construction crew. That's just not what we do. So we have to, we sell to builders. And so no one's gonna buy it as is, then we got to figure out how we're gonna make it so it is appealing to a builder.
We
Yeah,
allowed to
thank
ask
you,
more
Lake.
questions? Or no?
Do you have an additional question? Yeah.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
So my question, I guess, now is when you are now, if the in lieu goes through, correct? When you're selling the land, or I'm not going to use the right terms because I'm
Oh,
not
sure.
you, right?
That's fine.
I
Yeah.
work for education. So I don't have all that terminology, but walk me through a little bit. So you are owners of this land,
Mhm.
you sell this to folks to build, correct? So if you are now, everything's going to be market rate, wouldn't your profit go up? So wouldn't you be
Mhm.
able to then afford the additional 275,000 that we're asking for?
It's I mean, there's a ratio that well, that's why we're at the 300. We started at 300. There's a sort of a ratio. It's not a. I mean, it's based on a ratio, right? So like they're paying a percentage of the overall the value of the property. So then when you remove, say, the first off, so the difference between the market value of a market rate house there and the moderate rate is like maybe 50,000 at the most. So they're not paying us 50,000 more as a result. They might be paying us like 15 or 20,000 more per market. So if it's no longer a moderate rate and it's a market rate, they might, they're paying us 15 or 20. They're not paying us 50,000 more. So we're not really making more. This is just a way to facilitate the sale. If that makes sense.
That's not.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm better at writing something like that down, but yeah.
So
But I'd love to talk to you about that
yeah,
more.
so I think what we can do is, and I think this is a direction to staff, if 575 in lieu fee is not feasible, then show us why 575 is not feasible, right? And then that makes it clear to the council in your calculations, factoring in everything that needs to be factored in. But, why is that not feasible?
Okay.
I
Well-
think that's kind of the better, instead of having a discussion in terms of numbers and all of that, which I
Mhm.
think for us, it's obviously you're the expert on that. But we do also want to make sure that our team, our staff is working as to, okay, if that's not on the table, why is it not on the table?
Yeah.
And so, is that good?
Sure.
Okay.
Or how about just applying a value, right now applying a value to the parcel B site. And, instead of saying 25 for the 25,000 for 23 lots, why don't we just go down to 20,000 for 23 lots? So get kind of sort of like a $5,000 credit per lot. So that brings up to 460.
460.
Well, I think, I would like to see both assumptions. And if it's at the 575, why is it not feasible? And if it goes to the 465 on the value of the land, then give us the numbers on what that looks like and how it makes it even with the assumption of the in lieu and the land, right? And given that we don't have any in lieu, agreements of fee, we don't have a formula to determine that. I think it's something that if the city moving forward is going to do this, and if we move forward with this, that we really need to come back with staff and look at, the methods that we're going to use. Obviously, there's different methods, affordability gap method or production cost method that other cities use, that we really come back to do that, because then it's negotiating, what you propose and what the council suggests or recommends.
Through the chair, if I may, I do know that they're a bit on a tight timeline, and I think they need to come back with the affordable plan by June 4th, because otherwise they have a due diligence period with a purchaser. So might I suggest a direction that could help us move forward, and then we can provide in the staff report the different, look at what you're saying in terms of the economic feasibility. But it sounds to me like the land is fine, the one moderate, and now we're between 460 and 575. So maybe we can look at 460 to start, and then it have the developer provide an analysis, and if not, we don't feel comfortable, we would come back with 575. Would that be fair?
So Megan, I just want to clarify what I said, and I just want to make sure, I mean, the direction is, and I think I heard it from Councilmember Gonzalo Sanchez as well, and I don't know the subcommittee, what you guys had discussed in terms of this project, but the 575 is, if this is what we're looking at, because we're not assuming the 12 units. I mean, it's a 23 units, right? And I want to make sure that we're clear on that, because the amendment number 1, where we got those 11 extra on the density bonus, was because we approved that land be transferred over to Eden Housing. We still don't have an agreement. We still don't have the tax credit approvals. We still don't have a buildable that we can say this is a for sure thing where we're gonna get these units. So I want to make sure those assumptions are factored into our conversation today, because it's not a for sure in terms of those units. And it's a separate discussion, because we did the amendment already and the density bonus was under the first portion of the agreement. This is a separate discussion, and it's a separate agreement where we shouldn't, my view is not factoring in not factoring in or using 12 as a denominator, but using 23.
Yeah, and I think to clarify, I think I was suggesting that that's kind of what I'm hearing universally, that 23 would be the basis. And we would look towards, I think the developer's proposal is give some credit for the land of $5,000. So he's proposing 20,000 for the 23 units. Is kind of what I'm hearing, but I heard you say you wanted to make sure that it was economically ground truth, and we can kind of maybe internally work with the developer on that. And so my thought process is that we would come back with an in lieu proposal that would land somewhere between 575 and 460 based on the 23, and that ground truthing of the, you know, what meat they have in there to make the deal work for them. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I do take a little bit of issue though with the apartments being a separate conversation. I did plan those and I brought Eden to the table. And so it is part of the big picture. So, and Eden wants to be here long term, right? So it's like I brought in a partner that is going to really, like, they are working hard to get those apartments built. And while it hasn't happened yet, it's going to happen. Like, that's what they do, right? And so, like, and also, even though it somehow it didn't officially happen, I actually worked with Brent Slama, the previous city manager, to boost the number up to 36, and somehow it didn't get recorded. I don't know how, but you know, we planned the apartments for 36, so we were already trying to get more there, like low, very low. So just want to make sure. I do think it's part of the overall picture.
Well, thank you for that comment. I just, for me, I know when we did at least for me, I'll speak on my behalf, because when that came to us for approval, and I want to say, I know you guys are on a timeline and that's important, but I also want to make this comment that this land has been sitting there empty for over 20 years, right? And do we want to make sure that we move with something? Yes, we do. We know that there's an urgency to the moment, and I really appreciate and acknowledge that. But I also want to make sure that, you know, the conversation about the deferral of the First Amendment is separate than the conversation of this, even though it's the overall project, but this is a different proposal. And that's my comment in terms of not mixing apples with oranges and making sure that we're not, you know, I thank you for bringing them to the table, and I think they're a great partner, and we hope it comes to fruition. But I think for me, it's not yet done, right? And we hope it does get done, but it's not.
Yep. Point of clarification. I just want to point out that this new proposal did not go through the subcommittee. it came directly to,
No, actually, this was discussed, the concept of this plan was discussed with the subcommittee, and then the subcommittee directed staff to work with the developer. Because when we brought
Okay.
it to the subcommittee,
Mhm.
it was still, we were talking about swapping units from one project to the other.
Mhm.
But through the direction of the subcommittee, we work with the developer to have a plan, and we think that the cleanest way to do it is through the in-lieu plan, given that parcel B hasn't been entitled. So the only way that we can actually have some teeth in the game as the city for a property, for a development that hasn't been entitled is to do, we thought that the easiest and cleanest way to do it was through the in-lieu plan, but it's
Yes.
following the direction, which is land dedication and in-lieu fee.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to make a last comment and then I think we can move forward with, I think Megan had captured already the 575, working with the developer, come to the table with what's feasible, right? And we can move forward with that. I just want to make sure that I note also in terms of the moderate income units, and honoring the fact that, I know that even though we won't have the 23 units, one of the things that I know we're battling with is we have a lot of people that have come to our city, which we welcome them because we want them to move here. But a lot of the individuals that I met in the last several years have been priced out of Marina, have been priced out of Seaside, have been priced out of Salinas, have been priced out of Hollister. And so we have a lot of residents here and we welcome them to our city, but I think it's important for us to also ensure that we are not forgetting those residents that live here in Soledad, that have been here in Soledad. And the proposal to be able to work with them, even that 104 market rate units will be built under this proposal, that as part of our first time homebuyer policies that we've already talked about, that we do look at if, for me, that if I'm going to approve this, that it's going to be under the assumption that we are going to provide 23 of our Soledad residents with opportunity to become home buyers for one of those 104 units. Because I want to make sure that our residents have the opportunity and that all the market rate units we know are going to sell. But we want to make sure that we also support the residents that we have here in Soledad. And I think that was the basis for the moderate.
Yeah, and sorry, Beatrice, to interrupt. Through the chair, Lath and I did talk about having a meeting based on your direction to talk to the home buyer about how we can work together to do the pre-market. Again, it's hard for us to do in this affordable housing plan because our agreement is with the landowner in the city and someone else is going to be developing it, but he's agreed to bring them to the table so we can start talking about that now. And we probably have an answer by the next meeting when we bring this back forward for action on that piece.
Okay, council, any final comments? Okay, so Megan, with that, because there's a timeline, when will this come back then for the council?
We will bring it back on June 4th.
And then just to confirm, the consensus is that the land, the one moderate unit that we would do the in lieu fee for the 23 units, and it would fall somewhere between 460 and 575, depending on the market viability of that cost. Would that be correct? And with the pre-market and the direction to staff on the future, what kind of moderate units we do on the land.
And then what Mayor's point also was that we would also work with the 23 Soledad residents for the assistance as well.
Yeah.
That whatever in lieu fees are approved, that those are designated to work with those 23
With the
first-time home buyer.
what did you call it? The first notification or something?
Pre-market.
The
Pre-market.
Market, got it.
Thank you.
Okay, council, any questions?
No.
Is it final comments? Okay, so we got it. Thank you, Beatriz, for the information and thank you, Megan, as well. And thank you, Late, for helping us through our discussion and making sure that obviously the developer does what he needs to do, but that our residents also get what they need as well. So appreciate that. Okay. So Beatriz, you're good? You're good?
Yes.
So, okay. So
And we will appreciate your notes, Mayor. Thank you.
okay, perfect. Okay, so with that, then let's move on, council. So with that, let's move on to our next item. Thank you. I know that was a heavy discussion, council, so thank you for that. So we'll move on to our next item, which is resolution number 6231, adopting the proposed initial study mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the proposed Soledad Recycled Water Conveyance Project, and direct staff to file a CEQA notice of determination. And resolution number 6232. Do I have to read them? Yeah.
No, no, these are not ordinances, so just, right,
Okay.
just a basic approving a consulting service, yeah,
Okay.
and so forth.
Approving resolution number 6232, approving a construction service contract agreement not to exceed 13,780, 764,
That's 13 million.
13 million, 13 million, 780, 764, and resolution number 6233, approving a consultant agreement with Wallace Group not to exceed 1,232,864. So with that, I will turn it over to our Public Works Director for the report.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Don Wilcox, Public Works Director. We've got, as you read, 3 action items to discuss tonight. It's all revolving around the recycled water project that's up on the screen. I'll go through a brief description of it and then get into the 3 different action items a little bit. So for a long time, the city has strived to complete and utilize a recycled water utility system to irrigate utilizing recycled water from our water reclamation facility. So way back in 2005, the city constructed a state-of-the-art tertiary, which means 3 levels of treatment, so that the wastewater could be reclaimed, the water could be reclaimed from wastewater of sufficient quality to be used for irrigation. That was completed in 2010, and then we've gone through some master plans, looked for funding, things like that to build the recycled system all the way through the city. Jump forward to 2022, the city council authorized the staff to apply for a urban community drought relief grant that would fund the construction basically of a complete new distribution system throughout the city for recycled water instead of potable water. And that's the pipe network you see up on the screen. In January 2023, we received word from the state that they awarded the entire grant that we applied for, which we thought at the time was enough to completely construct the entire network. And it turned out to be very close. So we went ahead and went under design and started the CEQA process so that we could determine that the project was safe environmentally. Carollo did the formal design, and then we put it out for construction bids. We ended up with 3 bids. The low bid came in higher than our funding amount, but lower than the engineer's estimate. So we had to negotiate with the contractor a little bit to bring it back down to the available funding amount. So basically we have 21 parks and schools that will be irrigated with this new system. We had to remove 2 of the parks. So substantially, we have enough funding to construct most of the distribution system. The CEQA process, we went through, determined that there was 2 Indian tribes that would like us to monitor for artifacts and things like that. The records didn't really indicate that that was going to be an issue. So our consultant recommended, sorry, I'm very tired for some reason, that we go forward with the project and train the contractor so that if there is anything thing encountered, they would know what to do. So CEQA is covered, design's covered. Construction, we sent it out for formal bids. We received 3 bids. Again, it was a little bit more than the funding amount, so we negotiated with Specialty Construction, the lowest bidder, deductive change order for about $1.5 million to bring it within the construction budget. Tom Seidel's here with Specialty Construction to discuss that if we need to. So staff is basically recommending to go forward with the CEQA action, which is an initial study, mitigated negative declaration with a mitigation and monitoring reporting program. And then the final action is to for construction management of the project. Again, we did an RFP for construction management. We interviewed 3 firms and selected Wallace Group for the construction management. So the 3 actions are to adopt the CEQA mitigation, initial study, mitigated negative declaration, and mitigation monitoring and reporting program. And then the construction services contract with Specialty Construction. Again, their bid was $13,780,764. We recommend a concurrent deductive change order be also approved for $1,504,419 for a net contract approval amount of $12,276,345. And then since it's a large project, it's 5.5 miles of trenching through city streets. It's a 1.5-year project. We recommend a $650,000 construction contingency also be awarded initially. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. One final summary is that the grant requirement was for us to be able to save 54 million gallons per year of water. So when we construct this project utilizing reclaimed water, we'll pump 54 million gallons less per year out of the ground. That was the grant requirement. If we did the whole project, it would be more like 75.3 million gallons. Subtracting the 2 parks, we're down to about 72 million gallons. So we meet the grant requirements, and that's a significant amount of water to save from being pumped. Soledad's the only city in this area that's looked at something like this, applied for a grant, done the design, similar to the wind turbine. We were the first ones to put up a wind turbine. So it's a feather in Soledad's cap that will be the first agency in the area to use recycled water. And the next steps for this project is complete the Title 22 permit updates, which we're in progress with that, complete this construction phase, and then complete a Proposition 218 compliant recycled water rate study. So that's the presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And again, Tom Seidel with Specialty Construction is here since we're considering awarding a $12 million contract.
Thank you, Don, for that presentation. And thank you also for all of your efforts in ensuring that we are the first, right? And that this is important to addressing some of the climate impacts and obviously our water sustainability. So really appreciate that.
Sure.
Let me take it out to the public. If there's any members of the public that wish to make a comment on this item. Okay, seeing none that are joining us here in the council, any members of our public that are joining us via Zoom. Okay, I see no hands raised, so I'll bring it back to council, and I'll start with Councilmember Caldera if you have any questions or comments.
Don, great presentation there. And do you see in the future that we may be able to have like a golf course and be maintained and watered by that or irrigated by that?
So that's a good question. The original Mirabel 3, which is now Miramonte, did consider a golf course, and this would be ideal to irrigate with, but I believe that has been cut out of the Miramonte project. But however, there is sufficient water. So this is about 10% of the water that the WRF produces every year. So if something did get built, or ag, if ag adjacent to the city gets more interested and is able to utilize recycled water instead of pumping their own groundwater, then we have plenty of capacity to do so.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez?
Um, well, first off, thank you, obviously, not obviously, but thank you. But also, I really just want to hone in on the fact that we are the first in a lot of things here in Soledad, and that's all thanks in part to our staff. So again, thank you. We're the first in a lot of stuff, and not to go on a tangent, but I do believe that sometimes we get a little forgotten over here in South Monterey County, but Soledad really is the place to be, and we're always progressing forward, and that's again thanks in part to you all. My only, I think, question was how much shy were we to complete the project? Like, do we have a dollar amount?
So we're about 1.5 million shy of doing the project the way it was designed.
Okay.
The way it was designed was to hit every park, every school within the city. And once we're done trenching every street, to like resurface the entire width of every street so that it would completely cover up the trench patch.
Got it.
We don't have enough funding to do that slurry seal over the trench patch, but the trench patch will structurally rehabilitate the street. So it's fine. It'll just be a patch instead of, a solid street. Ultimately, with our pavement management system, though, we will end up slurry sealing over all those trenches. The other thing we had to do is cut out our two smallest parks. So we had to cut out the smallest bang for the buck we're getting. So there's two small parks, Santa Barbara and the other one at San Antonio. It's like $96,000 for that pipe segment to get there. So that's less than 10 acre feet per year we had to cut out. We could add that back in subsequent years. This project's going to go throughout 3 fiscal years, this year, next year, and the following year. So if we could budget to put those back in next year or even the third year, then we could have 100% of Soledad parks and schools on recycled water.
Got it. I know I've spoken to Megan about this, but also, so it's public information. Hopefully, maybe we can work with state legislation to get Prop 4 funding for it.
There's also IRWIMP funding that might help with that. Yeah, so we'll continue to look for that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Just for clarification, just on that point, when we met with Senator Laird, I think we did address this project.
I did, yes.
Yeah, we met
Oh,
with him as well.
Me as
so
well.
Some earmark money,
The
maybe?
earmark money, that's what we said, because we were only shy 1.4 million. I mean, I know it's a lot, but in terms of some of the other allocations so we did talk to him about that, and I know we did bring up also the Prop 4 dollars and to be able to see if we can be eligible for that. So just making sure that we follow up with that. So maybe not in this year, obviously the state legislature is going through some fiscal issues as well, but at least that it puts on the table that this is something that we are proposing.
So we partnered with the state in this grant application, and they were really excited that Soledad was interested and willing to go out and attempt to build this system or be successful with this system. So I would think word's getting out, and the state might even be able to help us more, and other funding might come through.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, that was my question. Thank you for answering, but thank you so much for making the decision of not cutting one of the schools. Instead is the little impact on those parks. Thank you so much for that. And yes, let's keep looking for grants or any more financial that we can use. We have 3 years, so we could probably get it.
The other advantage of recycled water I didn't mention is, as we were in the 5-year drought a while back, we were just shy of the governor mandating that we could not irrigate parks and schools. We weren't supposed to irrigate our lawns, ornamental lawns, things like that. The next step would be to stop irrigating schools and parks because turf does take a lot of water. With a recycled water system, that's an exemption. So if we do get in a severe drought situation again, our parks and schools can stay green.
No, nice. How about do reverse osmosis too, so that we can drink that water.
That's down the road. It'll be one water eventually between recycled and potable.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bernadas?
Thank you so much for the presentation, Don. Can you again express and elaborate the importance of why we recycle because of recycled water? Because I want to just kind of express it and also share with the community why we're, the importance of it. You know, what irrigation is, you know, cost and all that, because again, I just want to keep it on record, but then also, again, you know, I want to echo what Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez says, you know, we are unique. We're up, you know, we're like, I believe we're #1 here in South County.
We are,
Yeah, we are.
sorry.
But if you can please, but if you can please elaborate, you know, the importance of
Sure.
the step.
So Soledad, like pretty much all the communities in this area, rely on groundwater for all our water uses, from drinking to showers to car washes, and irrigation of landscaping. So rather than, and it's a precious resource, even the people down gradient of us that use the aquifer that's flowing under Soledad, it diminishes as it goes out. The less we draw from it, the more that will continue going out, pushing ocean water out. So we do, by conserving 75 million gallons a year that we're not pumping, that'll help with the seawater intrusion in the down gradient aquifers. And then it's a precious resource. We go through droughts. That's when we appreciate it. The well levels go down, things like that. By utilizing groundwater or recycled water more, all of those issues are lessened. So, and it's a natural resource that we're conserving, bottom line.
Point of information, just to clarify, that water that we are treating, we are filtering it to the ground, right?
So
But now we're
currently,
gonna pump it into the city.
so currently it goes through 3 treatment processes. That's what that purifies it enough to be used for landscape irrigation. And if what water we're not going to use, recycle back to the parks and schools, does percolate into the ground to recharge the surficial aquifer. Eventually it'll get down to the drinking water aquifers, but it's not 100% efficient. To do that, we'd have to go to reverse osmosis and inject it, like some of the communities to the north are doing.
Yeah, thank you. Additional?
No,
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think for me, I want to also acknowledge our contractor that's here.
So this is a huge contract for the
Yes,
city.
it's
And
a lot of, it's a
sorry,
lot of
thank you.
money.
Myself,
Yes.
my name's Tom Seidel. I'm the Civil Division Manager for Specialty Construction. Been with Specialty Construction for 20 years. I grew up in Salinas. My wife's from King City. So, you know, she actually used to live out on Metz Road. So we got rooted here in the Salinas Valley. And I'm excited. I'll tell you, I'm excited to see that you guys are excited about a recycled water program. We've put in recycled water programs or pipelines for Pajaro Valley. They're actively making deliveries to ag, strawberry fields all over that area. For South County Regional Water Authority up in Gilroy. And our offices in the city of San Luis Obispo, they have a great recycled water program. There's purple pipe everywhere. Love putting in purple pipe. But I think you guys will find us to be good neighbors, a great contractor. A big project like this, it's a massive project. As Donna mentioned, we're tearing up the streets. It is an impact. But I think you'll find that our crews are great. Many of them have been here with me as long as I have, almost 20 years. And they're respectful, they're good neighbors, they have a good job to do. We really pride ourselves in trying to leave a clean job site and, in a job well done. So excited to get started, excited to be part of the process. And I listened to everybody talk about it and Don describe it and everything's gone into it. It's exciting. It is interesting to see the city of Soledad. You talk about the first of what you guys are doing. I mean, I always loved when I was a kid driving down and seeing the sign, it's happening in Soledad. I have a t-shirt I found on Amazon that says it's happening in Soledad. So anyhow, happy to be here. I just wanted to, again, introduce myself, Tom Seidel. If there's any questions, Don has my contact information. I'll leave a couple cards up here on the podium here. And if you have any questions, my information's on there, email, phone, whichever. I'm happy to answer them. So
Yeah,
look forward to
thank
working
you.
together.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom. And I just want to, thank you for sharing that. And I think as we move toward the process, because it is a major project for the city of Soledad, you know, it's a $12 million construction contract. And I think for us as a council, it'd be really important. Our community is going to need information. So I know our staff will be working with you to make sure that every step of the way, we have pretty engaged community members on social media. So, I mean, social media platforms. So we want to make sure we're delivering, especially because it's going to take a long time and there's going to be different, impacts to the residents. So we want to make sure we have that. But I also want to make sure that we have from you information in terms of what is the economic impact of this project of bringing all of the workforce. And I think that's really important for us to be able to share that message with our community. Not only is obviously we want to do the right thing and protecting our environment. And I'm excited as well. You know, I hadn't made my comments and my remarks, but I'm excited that we are doing this. I think for us, especially in a Latino community, you know, many times we're not seen as climate friendly. And, you know, these are the communities that are not doing so much as in Santa Cruz and some of the others. But I want to make sure that our community knows that we are, because we are conscious about the conservation and preservation of our precious water resources. And this project, you know, through staff's ability to be able to get the significant amount of funding from the state is massive. And that we really share those stories in terms of what we're doing to protect our water and our environment, and then also the economic stimulus that we're bringing to the city of Soledad through the $12 million construction contract. So any numbers that you can provide to the council, I think that would be important, because we want to share that story out to our community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you. And I'm so glad that it's local, you know, that you're local and you have local roots. And I think that's, you know, even better because we are providing, you know, that stimulus here locally. So we really appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
And another economic point, the sales tax on the materials delivered here
Yeah.
goes to the city of Soledad partially as well.
Huge impact.
Yeah.
It is. So all of that, I think it's important for us, Don, to be able to know that. So those are all the things that we can, you know, share.
Through the chair, just could you remind us what was the original grant that we received, so that people know that we're not using funds from the city, it's a grant that we got from the state?
60 million?
Yeah, it was
16
60
16.6 million.
Yeah.
663.
Actually, can
21.
you pull to the
Mhm.
third slide? So the grant was $16,663,021.
Uh-huh.
So far, we've used it to do recycled water master plan. We've already converted Veterans Park. And then we did the design, and we're looking to go forward with construction management of this project, and some ancillary items like SCADA to automate it. So we'll have 41,000 left over if everything goes smooth the next year and a half. But I anticipate we'll eat that up plus the contingency.
Especially-
Then I anticipate also a groundbreaking, and a year and a half from now, a ribbon cutting
Yeah.
event with the elected in the state.
And then hopefully we don't get too much with the cost increases with the tariffs and all of that for the supply. So I don't.
That's Tom's concern.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Kind of told Don, we're anxious to get moving because we want to issue
As
purchase
soon as
agreements and start sourcing materials immediately so we can, get the material that's on the ground for the craziness that's going on in this country.
Yeah.
Mm.
Absolutely. So, yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that. And just my last comment, hopefully that, you know, I know you mentioned ag, but I know that this is something that when we started the conversation, ag was supposed to be hopefully included and as a partnership. So I think this is an opportunity, especially with your relations, to be able to reach out to ag, to see, to work with them, right? Because I know obviously they're worried about their crops, but to be able to utilize the recycled water would be really important.
Yes, Megan and I have met with the Braga Ranch at least and discussed at least they'll start utilizing a little bit and experimenting with it.
Oh, nice.
Good.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. I know there was some hesitation, so appreciate that. So, okay, council, with that, if there's no further questions, then I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 6231, 6232, and 62.
We need
no?
to do these separately.
It's
Oh,
separate.
separately,
Mhm.
okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 6231.
So moved.
And just for the record, that is the resolution that will adopt the proposed initial study, mitigated negative
Mhm.
declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the proposed Soledad recycled water conveyance project. It'll also give direction to staff to file the notice of determination.
Tomorrow morning.
Okay, so with that, so I'll read it because I thought we didn't have to read it, but notice, so,
You don't need to read it. I mean, I just want to make sure that the essence of the resolution is captured.
okay, perfect. So with that, I entertain a motion, for resolution number 6231.
So moved.
I have a,
Second.
motion on the floor, Councilwoman Banuelos and Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any, any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so motion carries and the file notice to proceed.
Got it.
right? Okay, so the second, motion, the second resolution is resolution number 6232, approving a construction services contract with Specialty Constructions and the not to exceed 13,780,764 with 80 cents.
Make a motion.
And,
Oh, for the
and I'm sorry, and so, and also then, it also approves the deductive change order
Okay.
in the deductive amount of $1.5 million approximately for a total net contract approval with the contingency that's referenced there not to exceed $12,926,345.75.
So moved.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor. A second motion. So there's a motion by Councilmember Gonzalo Sanchez and second by Mayor Velasquez. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Any abstentions? Okay, so motion carries. Thank you. So our next resolution is resolution number 6232, approving a consultant.
33.
6233, approving consulting services agreement with the Wallace Group and in the amount not to exceed 1,232,864 for the construction management and inspection services for the Solidar Recycle Water Conveyance Project, and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement on behalf of the city of Soledad. So I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, second. So Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez, second by
Second.
Mayor. I seconded already. Second by Mayor. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations again. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to our next item. Mayor's reports and acknowledgements. Okay, council, so. Oh, we're almost there.
This was a very efficient meeting, though, I must say.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started on my mayor's report on May the 8th. I met with Megan as part of our standing meetings. And then on May the 9th, I attended the groundbreaking ceremony for the Soledad Unified School District Teacher Housing Project. On May the 10th, I attended the Celebration Nation's Mother Day event at Cesar Chavez Park. So I just want to say thank you to Matsui Nurseries for donating the orchids to be able to hand out to the moms. So thank you to all the volunteers who made this a very special day for our mothers. And on May 12th, I attended TAMSI's Vision Workshop. Councilmember Pro Tem Cabrera was there as well at the Soledad Community Center. And I just want to encourage more of our residents to be in attendance at some of these meetings that are important. TAMSI is creating a regional plan, which Soledad will have a specific plan for the council to adopt and approve the strategies to get us to zero collisions. And I can't remember the date, but in May, I also completed my sexual harassment prevention training with the Senate. That's part of my employment, but it also satisfies my requirement for the city as elected officials. We are mandated to take this course every 2 years. And on the 15th of May, I attended my standing meeting with Megan Hunter, our city manager. On the 16th, I attended the Cal City Advancing Equity Advisory Committee, which I represent. I'm a representative of as part of the Monterey Bay Division. Topics of discussion, we reviewed a resolution that provides more equitable representation of all demographics and minority populations on all Cal City's boards and committees and denouncing the agency's history of discrimination by its founder. On the 16th of May, I attended the Cal Cities Latino Caucus Board of Directors, which I, as your mayor, are part of that as well. Topics of discussion, we reviewed resolutions on equity and updated updates on current legislation that's impacting our Latino community. On the 20th, I attended the nurses meeting along with Councilwoman Buñuel for the Soledad Community Healthcare District to congratulate them as part and hand out certificates as part of the council, on behalf of the council, for their services to our families as part of National Nurses Week. And on the 21st, today, as mentioned earlier, I did meet with Mr. Nader? Or Mr. Aga?
Yeah, Mr. Aga.
Aga, sorry.
Late Aga.
Late Aga to
Yeah.
obtain more clarity on the discussion for today's agreement. And on the just upcoming meetings, May 29th, the city will be having the traffic safety community meeting. And I know this was important to our residents, so just invite everybody to be in attendance. Our social media has more information on that. And also want to let our residents know that we are engaged in the legislative platform with the state, as it's been heavy on the legislation for the state and also on the budget for the on the federal side. So on the 19th of May, we provided updated letters in support of SB 48, which is introduced by Lena Gonzalez, Immigration Enforcement, School Sites Prohibition of Access, Sharing Information, and Law Enforcement Collaboration. And then we also provided a letter to Representative Newhouse as part of the City of Soledad in support of the Farm Worker Modernization Act of 2025, introduced by Congresswoman Lofgren, supporting the H-2A labor force, but also strongly passing of the bill, but also requesting a pathway to citizenship for our farm workers who have been here for years and contribute immensely to our local economy, to our state economy, and to our country's economy. And my last is I want to acknowledge, congratulate Supervisor Chris Lopez for being selected by Speaker Rivas to serve on the California Coastal Commission. So, thank you. So with that, I will turn it over to Councilmember Caldera.
I think I only have one here. May 15th, I actually was the alternate for the May 15th Solid Valley or Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority. Very interesting meeting there.
Okay. Councilmember Anselmo Sanchez.
Yes, I'll try to keep it at 3 minutes. I have several. All right, so on May 8th, I attended the Legislative Standing Committee that I am a part of with Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera, where we not only discussed the recap of the advocacy trip that I took for the Cal Cities Leadership Summit. We also talked about our positions on bills and any legislative deadlines. We were provided updates on funding requests. And then we set a timeline for future meetings. We also took a brief moment to pause to see the announcement of the new Pope during our meeting.
That's exciting.
It was very exciting, yes. And then on May 9th, I also attended the Soledad Teacher Housing groundbreaking event. And then I also briefly attended the new Soledad Chamber of Commerce night market. On May 14th, I attended the AMBAC meeting where we got a lot of information. One thing that I thought was really cool was we got an update on the Central California Rural Regional Energy Network. So part of our electric and gas bills, they contain a public goods charge overseen by the California Public Utilities Commission. CPUC for short, energy efficient program. It's to have energy efficient programs to reduce energy. So they are currently a development of a Monterey Bay regional energy modeling tool. They're also doing a pilot project and doing sites. It's part of this, the regional, what did I say? The Central California Rural Regional Energy Network is Monterey County, Santa Cruz County, San Benito County, San Luis Obispo County, and then some parts of Central the Central Valley. And so their pilot project sites are identified. They've also identified advisors that will receive 1,000 hours of on-the-job training. And because I am myself, I advocated that services need to reach South Monterey County, as we are often left on the back burner of these sort of conversations. On May 15th, I attended the Rotary and School Board Top Scholars recognition event, where they recognize top 10 scholars and top 10 community service students that have a lot of community service hours for each of the 4 grade levels at the high school, which was really cool. On the 19th, I had my briefing with Megan. Thanks, Megan. And then today I attended, I'm almost done. I attended the retired classified and certificated staff recognition. And also want to give a special acknowledgement to my godmother, Sonia Sanchez Lee, for being Teacher of the Year for the elementary schools. And then I also want to acknowledge myself for completing 1 week at my new position at MPC as Interim Director of Student Outreach and Retention. So if anyone is interested in MPC, let me know.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera.
You working in Monterey? Cool. Yeah. Hopefully you get early here. I just kidding.
Point of clarification,
Sorry,
I'm
sorry,
always on
sorry.
time. Except
My apologies. That came out. Yes, my apologies. So on the 8th, I attended the subcommittee of with along with Council Member Ansaldo Sanchez, which was very interested and interesting. And one thing that I like to see is maybe that we can do a little review of the state budget and see how that is going to impact on our finances. On the 9th, I attended the night market, which it was from my taste, it was great. I got to see a lot of vendors that they usually are not in the regular marketplace. So it was cool, and they also had yeah, they have folkloric, but they had something that were adopting little cats. So I have my cat, so I was really drawn to that one. Then on the 12th, I attended the MST board meeting. Pretty cool. They had actually one of the things that was not too good is that they order some batteries for the electric cars, and there's possibly an increase of about $700,000 due to the tariffs that are in place right now. So they're gonna have to pay almost $1 million more for those batteries, and but they also presented us a 2-story bus, the double-decker, and they gave us a ride around to see how it looks, and the top floor looks amazing. You can see everything from there. Hopefully we can get some of that. There's no plan right now to buy any, but it is an interesting idea. Then on the 13th, I attended the TAMSIM presentation about zero. What is the title? Zero death or something like that.
Vision Zero.
Vision Zero. Zero death. I got confused. Well, anyway, so I want to encourage everybody to attend our presentation on the 29th. It is interesting, and your input is important for this program to succeed. Remember that it is something that you can contribute. These people that are executing this program do not live here in Soledad, so your presence is necessary. It's important for us to be able to make a good impact in that with our program. Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilwoman Bañuelos.
Yes, so May 8th, I attended I'm part of the board of the Soledad Cemetery board, and as Desiree shared earlier, we're getting things done. Just just a reminder again, this Saturday, if you want to participate with us, it is a cleanup from 9 to 1. You can just be there an hour, 2 hours, or if you have anyone who needs community service, it's a great opportunity. And also just a refresher, a reminder of Memorial Day services. It's going to be on Monday, the 26th at 10 a.m. I did also attend on May 9th, the Soledad Unisco High School groundbreaking, along with Mayor Ana Velasquez and Councilmember Gonzalo Sanchez. And it was just a great opportunity to be there, and sharing with, and having the support with our staff, the high school staff and the district staff. Also, I attended the ribbon cutting with the new Chamber of Commerce night market. They did mention that they will be promoting the night market second and fourth Fridays. So their next night market is going to be this Friday. And then also just being there, it's a different, it was great having those different vendors there that we really don't see. And then also the Filcótico group, there was a mechanical bull there. I just, the engagement, and a lot of feedback from the community, it was really great. So I did send some recommendations from the community members that were there. So, hopefully they're able to, listen and, move forward with it. Also, I attended on the 12th, on Monday, the 4th of July meeting. I'm also part of that board. And again, as Pauline had mentioned, I'm very optimistic that we are going to continue having fireworks next year because, we need to fundraise and we cannot be relying on the city. So we need to move forward in that and continue to have fundraisers all year long and not to wait. Also, I did attend at the Gabilan Plaza, the Department of Mental Health Services fair on the 14th. It was great because I met a few of advocates from the Salinas area wanting to bring more services here at South County. And so I was able to connect with her and also share the information with Megan and also with Henry, so that way they're able to bring it out to social media that they're coming here to South County and, providing the services here. Also, I had a briefing with Megan on the 19th with her agenda. I also attended on the 20th along with Mayor Ana Velasquez at Eden Valley, the nurses, National Nurses Week, and we did present some certificates and wanted to just praise all the ladies and gentlemen there. And of course, this afternoon, we did a ribbon cutting for our new council chambers and acknowledgements, hats off to Mr. Valdez, Mr. Olivas, and Ms. Cornejo, our staffing at the cemetery board, and props to Desiree again, and also all the nurses who serve, our community and our members here, and also patients, not only just in the clinics, but everywhere else here in Soledad. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. So I just want to make sure, I know we had said 3 minutes. I think I went over on mine as well, but if we can have the clock beep when we're over the time limit. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So that will it'll give me and everybody else, on instructions on the 3-minute mark. So thank you, council. Okay, so with that, we will move on to our council city manager report.
Thank you. And I'm going to take a privilege to acknowledge my daughter who graduated from USC. Her name is Maya Benitez, and she's just brilliant. And couldn't be more of a proud mother. And so thank you for letting me take that time off. A couple of things to let you know, and I do apologize. I haven't sent my written report, but I will be sending you things in writing, by Friday of this week. But I wanted to let you know that we are moving forward with the May 29th town hall meeting. We'll probably keep it like we have with the state of the city, because it gets a little dodgy on Brown Act, which would be a quick intro from the mayor, and then we'll have a PowerPoint presentation, and then we're gonna break out to tables instead of having, you know, the back and forth from council. So we'll work with Mike to make sure we're doing what we need to do on that, but anyhow, there is a town hall meeting for that. We have a meeting with the planning commission to look at the circulation map. There was a little, I think, confusion about having a joint meeting, but we decided to keep the planning commission and the council separate for now, because there's a lot of coordination involved, and we know that we're having our budget meeting, I think, on June 11th, if
June
that's
11th.
okay with everyone. And we're gonna have it as a noticed meeting of the council, but we're gonna invite the public and do some education and allow for some public engagement. I also wanted to give you an update on the encampment resolution plan that's moving forward. I talked to each of you. I kind of verbally gave you the report. Essentially, what we're doing is we have spent the last couple of weeks getting people ready. So we're getting, we've gotten places for the storage of stuff. We've been helping them get rid of things. The plan is to move most of everyone tomorrow. Now there's 2 people who are a little bit resistant, so we'll see how it goes tomorrow. They may still be there on Friday, but we'll legally, you know, work through that process if they don't move forward. I think one thing that's really important to get out to the media, because I think there's a misunderstanding, is that we have already selected the participants. We're not accepting new people who are coming from other jurisdictions. We have a participant list, and that is who the funding is for, and what we committed to when we applied for the grant. So the police will be moving folks on, as we are allowed to do under law. If we have newcomers, and we'll be enforcing once everyone is out of the encampment area, we'll be enforcing for trespassing. So just to let you know, after folks are moved out, if you see people setting up there, let us know so we can kind of, again, within our legal way, move folks along. We've worked with the county and the property owners to make sure that there's no trespassing signs as required by law. So wanted to also let you know that the county reached out to us about being a receiver of funding, grant funding, to administer a youth homeless demonstration program. So we anticipate that proposal will come back to council ideally on the 4th, but possibly on June 18th, depending on our legal review. But that's something we are working on. I also wanted to mention that I mentioned the chief of police hire. He has accepted. We're now in background. So we'll be able to do a more public announcement once the background process is cleared. So looking forward to announcing that. I'm sure you are going to really like him. And then lastly, I wanted to mention that 2 things. There is the Youth Summit this Saturday. It's going to be held in Greenfield. It's a combination of all of our youth councils. Jessica will send you the flyer, but it's kind of more of a closed program to the youth council participants. And then finally, just a reminder that we're having our big ribbon cutting for the fire apparatus bay on June 20th at 10 a.m. I wanted to let you know with additional notice. So hopefully, I know it's not ideal to do it at 10 a.m. sorry. We kind of had to work around the
senator's schedule.
senator's schedule because she gave us a $2 million earmark. So we're
Yeah.
kind of stuck with coordinating around that. Otherwise, but I'm sorry. Yeah.
So Megan and I know I'm gonna be out, so I'll work with the senator to confirm. I know there's a lot of, so we just need to make confirm. It's confirmed already on her calendar, but I'll confirm again tomorrow just to make it sure it hasn't changed, given all of the different
Things going
going on in her world. So, and I just realized that I will be out of the country on the 20th.
Okay.
So we'll work on that.
Okay.
So,
And if it has to move, we can let us know.
okay. Okay, so, council, let me open it up. Let me open it up if there's any questions for Megan on the items that she provided.
Just a comment, Megan. I will be in attendance on the 29th for our town hall for Tansy. I'm actually going to be in the strategic planning budget for these Salinas Valley High School.
Yeah, and you told us that, and so I appreciate that we can do a briefing with you afterwards.
Yeah. And just for clarification, it's not for Tansy. This is ours, because we had ours with Tansy during the Vision Zero. But this is for us. Yeah, this is as, you know, we want to make sure we engage because of all the issues and concerns we heard from our community about traffic. So this is what we had been wanting to do. Some of that element, I think they're coming as well, because we want to make sure they hear, because it's part of it's going to be, it all intertwines. So they'll be there as well.
And I'm probably not gonna be able to make it as well, so I'm gonna be out of the city.
Okay.
I hope I can be, but it's on Friday, it's on Thursday, right?
Thursday,
So
yeah.
I'm probably gonna be out, and then for next meeting, I'm gonna be from home.
Yes.
So I have my search, yeah.
Okay. So, okay, Megan,
And there was one request, I apologize to Mayor Pro Tem about MST, about the proclamation, but we will do a certificate. We will do a certificate because that's more appropriate for that type of thing, which is what we generally have done without coming back to council for formal actions.
And the request was if we wanted to proceed with something, in some form of recognition.
Yeah.
I don't think they expect a proclamation, but if it is something that to recognize his work is wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. So I thought we could do a proclamation, but if it's a certificate, that's fine. But obviously, given it's his 30 years. 30 years, so we can talk about it at what's appropriate, but I think it's especially, I know I sat as a representative for MST for the last, I don't know, how many years, 8 years. And I know Carl has been really instrumental in really moving a lot of the projects forward, and not just here locally, but at the state level and at the federal level. So we can talk
Yes.
about what's appropriate. So, okay,
I have one
so-
else to the chair. Another one. So Megan, quick question. Is it too late to provide a certificate or a proclamation to the new chamber? I think Council Supervisor Lopez and Rivas provided a certificate as well. So I'm like, I think we just kind of dropped the ball. I'm not
What-
sure if we can do that.
yeah, so let's move on to the items of discussion. So it's really on Megan's report, council. So if we have any other questions, we can talk to her directly, but I know I'll make a comment on that because I want to make sure that we're clear in terms of when we get invited. We got a flyer, we got an invitation to that event, and I think most of us were there, but there wasn't typically there's a request for a certificate or a request for to provide that on behalf of the city council, and that's not what was in the email. The email was just an invitation to Megan and to the rest of the council. So I just want to I just want to make sure there's clarity in terms of the certificates, the issuance of certificates, because I know we have a lot. So we'll move on to I'm going to address that on the next item that we have before we finish. It's future agenda items on how we move forward with that. Okay, so let's move on then to future agenda items. Oh, wait a minute, Megan. I did have a question on your report. So one is meet and greet. If we can have a meet and greet with the community when we finalize our chief of police, when that's done, I think that would be important. And then on the encampment resolution, information, who's gonna enforce the trespassing? Is that gonna be police, our police department, or is it gonna be the sheriff's?
It's probably gonna be a combination, I mean, it'll be a combination of both because it straddles our jurisdiction, so technically, you know, we enforce our city limits and they would enforce, unincorporated county. We do
Okay.
some joint efforts and we'll be calling them, to take care of their side of the border.
Got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, council, so now we'll move on before we adjourn, then we'll move on to our final is our future agenda items, and I'll start with Councilwoman Banuelos.
None.
Okay, Mayor Pro
None.
Tem?
None.
Okay. Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez?
Yeah, I'd like to either bring back our encampment project just to update the community, or maybe we could even have a town hall to address what the project is and dispel the bunch of misinformation that's on social media about it. I think the media is not helping either on that part. Just so that the public knows that this money isn't money that they, as taxpayers to Soledad, paid for, that it is coming from the state funneled through the county. And again, that way we can also say how we're going to be working with PD to secure, and it's like one spot, so it's easier to kind of patrol and stuff like that, just so that the public is aware. Maybe we could do like a workshop or something. And then also another dead horse that I beat is just the porta potties outside of the city. It doesn't really look nice, and I really want to work with ag. Hopefully, I've seen them a lot in the past few weeks. I don't know if they're there today, but they were. No, that's good. They were there yesterday, but I digress.
Yeah, I have, asked, environmental health for some help. So we're gonna be working on kind of like what we did with the vendors
Mhm.
that were there. We're gonna be working on that too.
Great.
Mhm.
Okay, Councilmember Caldera?
Actually, the only thing I had was the porta potties also.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody brought it up to my attention, and as a matter of fact, when I was driving into town, I heard the train blow the horn like for a good minute. And it was because there was a truck pumping that I guess the waste from one of the porta potties there, and it was so close to the tracks that
Wow.
could have
Dang.
created an accident
Wow.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Megan and I want to I mean, I'm gonna say the same thing because I know we've been working on these porta potties for years now. So I would like, in addition to that, is also a report that that provides background in terms of what we've done to address the porta potty issues, because it's not new. It's been going on for several years now. I know when Chief Wasson was here, he tried to support and make, you know, our police officers, they also address this issue. So I think it's important for the council, as we're getting comments from the community, that we know what we've done, what steps have been taken with the city. And then I think beyond that, because I know, I get that the county is responsible and that there may be some staffing issues or whatnot, but also the county's role, who's responsible, what are the alternatives to mitigate this moving forward? Because it's been an ongoing, and I don't want to continue to say it, and I don't want to continue. I had it in my future agenda items forever. So how do we address it? Let's find a resolution and let's move forward. So that's one. And then the other one is I do want to make sure, as Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez said, the encampment resolution funds, there's a lot of misinformation out there in our communities and people and our residents. I just want to say, please, you know, call us. We can give you information, call the city, information, accurate information on what the source of funding, what we're doing with this funding source, what is the plan for the encampment resolution, because there's a lot of spread of misinformation on social media and a very divisive rhetoric from certain members of the public. And I don't think it's fair for the rest of the community to really start utilizing now the divisiveness between the council is, supporting these individuals that basically saying they don't deserve it, as opposed to the council providing housing for the residents in our community. So I want to make sure that we're addressing that. And I also, I don't know if it's a workshop or if it's, an informational town hall that we have our residents come so they can understand and learn the facts about this funding source and what the city is doing. And given that we have short-term and long-term goals for our transition housing and for this population, I think it's important for our residents to know. And this will be, as we move forward, pretty contentious topic for some members of our community. But I also want to make sure that we also add the fact that people are talking about safety concerns, and we address the safety mechanisms that are going to be part of this encampment. And also what the city has, the calls for service that we received in the past because of the, population out in the river, right? We've had a lot of fires, we've had a lot of calls for services, and I think that's important to relay that information to our community so they have factual data and not misinformation.
Yeah, and I think what we can do actually right now is, that's probably the easiest, is to just really put out a lot of information on social media and onto our webpage. So I'll work with Henry and Beatrice to get information out. We do, just if anyone asks, we do have 24-hour security at the provisional encampment site.
Okay.
And not because we're trying to keep people in like it's a prison. It's really to keep folks out and just to keep the residents there safe. So.
And the community at large. So I think that's really important to share. So yeah, if we could do that, I think, and then also look at possibility of a workshop, right? An informational workshop for our residents to know, here's what we're doing. Invite the county. The county's a big portion of this. We're not using general fund money, it's county money through the state funding so that we can have our partners there. I know Supervisor Lopez was supportive of this. The county's been supportive of this. We have different partners that we're working with, so invite the partners. So we've hired an advocate, right?
Homeless outreach services coordinator.
Yes, coordinator, so that all of that, I think if they can be there as part of here's what we're doing as a team.
Yeah.
I think it's important. So, okay, council, then there's no other items of business, and I adjourn this meeting at 9:33. Thank you.
Megan, I have a complaint.